Hi everyone, this is Bhupesh. You're welcome to my Professor Note, and this is our series of history of British literature, and this is a very first class. And in this complete series, we will be covering all the aspects of the British literature from exam perspective. And in this class, which is on the Anglo Saxon, we will be covering all the aspects that you need to know in order to crack your English literature competitive exam. And this series is going to help you immensely in all your JRF, SET, GATE, TGT, PGT, and all other English literature entrance examination. Alright, and my Professor Note provides you exam oriented study material, complete preparation roadmap where I provide you, and plan your daily routine, your daily task that you are supposed to complete, and inform me about it, where I'll be assessing your preparation. Right, if there's any doubt, I'll be clearing them. Right, and we will also create a timetable, so this whole process, this whole journey of this exam preparation become easy for you. All right, so let's start today's video. Here I have written down few dates and names, as mugging things up is not an easy task, so it's better to have a record of these things. Okay, so most of you know this, that the Anglo-Saxon age started in the 450 AD to 1066. This much knowledge all of you have. This is the Anglo-Saxon age. Right, and now here we will be looking into its historical aspect, its literary aspects, all those important writers, all those important works, and that how did these dialects and the language was evolved. Right, it also has a very important aspect of the language that we also need to know, and I'll be discussing all of these things here in this video itself. All right, so the very first thing that we need to know, that Anglo-Saxon age started during this period. But prior to this, what is the story of the England, that how did England actually came into existence? So in Europe there was an island where the Celtics, who are known the original inhabitants of the England. Your present day England was this island where these Celtic tribes migrated in the 15th century, in the 5th century. In Celtic tribe, we had the Brythons and your Gaelics, right? And incidentally, your name Britain has emerged out of the Brythons tribe. The name of Britain has come from the Brython tribe. Okay, then what happened in 55 BC? In 55 BC, your Romans, who were at the time the most dominant army force, they were invading this island repetitively, and in the 55 BC they took a hold on the entire land, and then till 407 AD they had a control over this land. But in 407 AD they had to withdraw, they have to left this land. Why? Because the Visigoths, who the Visigoths, who were the Visigoths, they were the German tribes, a violent German tribes who were invading their homeland, who were invading the Romans' homeland, Rome. So in order to defend their own home soil, they had to withdraw from the England in 407. And your Celtic tribes, who are the original inhabitants of the England, they became vulnerable from the outside invasions and their neighboring tribes, the Pictish and Scottish, who Picts and Scots start invading them, and then in order to seek help, these Celtic tribes asked for the help from the Eastern European tribes. Who were they? They were Anglo Saxon and Jutes. Who were they? They were Angles, Saxons and Jutes, and they were mercenaries. Who are mercenaries? Who fight for money, right? In return they give them some money and they will start fighting for your own army. So Anglo Saxon and Jutes defend them from the Picts and Scottish, but they also drive the Celtics, the original inhabitants, from their own land to the Wales, Scotland and to all of these places, and themselves they took a hold on the land of England. As Angles were in the majority, they call it Angle land, which over the period of time evolved into the England. And this is how your name of England came into existence. This is how England was given its name, from England to the England. And then later on, over the period of time, we didn't find the jutes anywhere. There was no trace of them. They were, because they were very, they were only less in numbers. And Angles and Saxon were the tribes who were holding the major of the area, and there were a lot of people in these tribes. So that is the reason that this age is called the age of Angles and Saxons. Okay, then what happened after this? When Angles and Saxon controlled the land of England, I hope you have write down these details that I have given to you. When Angles and Saxons took a hold on this land, what they did, they divided this land of England into the 5 kingdoms. What are these 5 kingdoms? First one is the Northumbria, right? Second one is the your Mercia, Mercia. Third one is the East Anglia. Fourth one is the Kent. Fifth one is the West Saxon. And King Alfred was the king of West Saxon, who reigned here from 871 to 899. And during his lifetime, there were Vikings who used to invade the England, but they were unable to take a hold on the entire land of the England, because he has the ability to bring together all these 5 kingdoms and fight for the entire nation together. But in 787, as Vikings started invading the England, they start living with them. And during this time, there was also the continuation of the Anglo Saxons. They were also staying there, but Vikings were repetitively invading them. So it is not that they throw out the entire tribe of the Viking. They were living with them, but the majority of the people were of the Angles and Saxon tribes. So they had a control and dominance over the land, not the Vikings. But they still were living from 787 to 1066 in the England, right? And then the another important event which took place beside this is the invasion of Danes, right, which took place in the 876. Until 1013, almost the 3 kingdoms, which includes in Northumbria, your Mercia, and your East Anglia, they were under their control, right? The last king, which is your Harold Godwinson, he was the Danish king. As your Anglo-Saxon age came to its last point, when your king of Normandy, William, conquered the England, so he was given the title of the Anglo-Saxon king as well, because not the entire nation was under the hold of the Danish people, because there was a part of it which is the West Saxon that still were under the hold of the Anglo-Saxon people, and they were living with them, right? They were not revolting against each other. They were in a very peaceful coexistence, right, as were the Romans. So your Harold Godwinson was a Danish king, right, who was defeated in the Battle of Hastings in December 1066 from the William, who was the king of the Normandy, France. He was a Danish king, but he was also called the Anglo-Saxon king too, right? So yeah, these are some of the events that you have to keep in your mind. We are just looking at the historical aspect only right now. The another thing now comes here is the dialogue, is the dialects, the languages which were being uh, followed in these five kingdoms, right? So very first one is the Northumbrian dialect. Very first one is the Northumbrian dialect. Your Cadmon's hymns are written in the Northumbrian dialect, right? Your Cadmon hymns are written in the Northumbrian dialect. Okay, hymns are, they are the songs that we sing in the praise of somebody, venerating someone, mostly the deity, the gods, right? And these poems which were written during this time period, they had the themes of Christianity and the religion more, right? They were venerating their lords, the Christ and their religion. That was the main topic, that was the main subject of their literature during this time. And oral literature was prevalent during this time period. There was no written literature that much we get to see during this time period. So it was the tradition. So the tradition of the oral literature was followed during this period. Okay, Northumbrian was the very first dialect. Then the second one is the second one. What is that? That is your Mercian dialect. That is your Mercian dialect. Then the third one we have your Kentish dialect. Kentish dialect. And then the fourth one we had your West Saxon dialect. West Saxon dialect. And West Saxon dialect was a supreme dialect, as it was the language of the King Alfred, right? So it was the supreme dialect than all of these other dialects which were being spoken in the England back then. So some of the concepts which must have got clear to you, that how England came into existence and how was its history like. What are the very important kings, like King Alfred is the one, and why did West Saxon became a supreme dialect than the other languages. And the one important thing that I want to tell you here is about the King Arthur, right, who was famous in the 15th and 16th century. And it is being said that he was a fictional king, because we don't get to see him in the historical documents, and neither in the Anglo Saxon chronicles, right? That is one of the historical document of the England, written by the Geoffrey of Monmouth, right? It hold the record from your 16th BC to the 1154. From 16 BC to 1154, this much time period is recorded in the Anglo Saxon chronicles, which is written by the Geoffrey of Monmouth. Geoffrey of Monmouth, right? And this is one of the prose work of the Old English, so make sure you write it down. Another prose work of this time period, which was also translated by the King Alfred into English from the Latin language, that is the Bede's ecclesiastical history of English people. Ecclesiastical means it is a history of the Christianity and the church, like the Christian religion. It is a history of the Christian religion, written by the Bede in 731 in the Latin language. It was written, right? And then later on it was converted into the English by the King Alfred. He was the one who translated it. It is being said maybe he patronized those people to whom he has given this task of converting it into the English language, in the Old English language, right? So these are the historical aspects that we have to keep in mind. So we started from the 55 BC. That's when the Roman invaded the Celtic tribe who were living on the island which is known today as England, right? And it ended in the 1066 with the Battle of Hastings, when your William, the King of Normandy, France, came to England and defeated the Harold Godwinson. Who did he defeated? Harold Godwinson. He was the last Danish king and last Anglo Saxon king as well, because your Anglo Saxon period came to the end in the 1066 in December month. It was. Before this, there was another battle which took place, that was also in the 1066. That was the Stanford battle, and it was fought between the England and the Norway, and England defeated the Norway in this battle. So because there was only the 3 weeks gap between the Battle of Hastings and this battle, so they were unable to fight back. Within this very short period of time, they did not have the sources. That is given the reason of the defeat. But we have no need to go into this much depth, as it will be redundant. But in some exams, I have found, whether it is a set exam, like a West Bengal set, we have a lot of set exams, right? They ask such a questions, that between whom, which battle, like Battle of Hastings, when it was being fought, right? Who are the kings, the name of the king, who was defeated. So all these information you have to keep in mind. Let me go to get my duster. Okay, so that's how this period come to an end. And these are the details. I hope I did not muddle up all these information on your paper the way I did on my board. I hope you wrote down every single thing in a right way. I want to give you this, a bird eye view. So next time when somebody asks you what was Anglo-Saxon age was like, so you should know that who were the original inhabitants, what was happening, what battle took place, what are the dialects, right? All these things should be clear for you. So this is the historical aspect. Now we will come to the literary aspect of this age, right? They are the important poems. One is the Beowulf, that we all know. Beowulf, right? So the Beowulf is the king of Geats, and Geats was the Swedish tribe. So he was invited by the Hrothgar, a Danish king, to protect him from the Grendel, a monster who was attacking him. And when the Beowulf arrived, he refused to use any weapon against the Grendel, because he think of himself equal in power to the Grendel, and he defeated him with hands. And then he was awarded the sword by the Hrothgar. The name is Hrothgar. He awarded him the sword called the Negling. What is the name of the sword? Negling, right? And then the second fight that he had, in order to prove his fearlessness and strength, with the mother of the Grendel, the monster named Grendel, right? You have to remember these names only, because this is from where the questions will be asked. What is the name of the monster? Why he was invited by the Hrothgar, right? Which monster did he kill at the first place? So then he killed the Grendel's mother in the second fight. And the third fight he had with the dragon in his own homeland, with the dragon who gave him a fatal wound, which became the reason of his death, and he eventually died, the Beowulf. And then as a tribute, a tower was erected on his headland, in his memory, by the attendees who were attending his funeral. They erected that tower on his headland, right? And to make him immortal for the upcoming ages, so they can be inspired from such a warrior, right? So this is what the story of the Beowulf is. Now it has the theme of the religion and the Christianity. One thing we have to keep in our mind: the most of the themes which are being covered during this time period in the literature is religion and Christianity, and Christianity, right? So these are the themes which are being covered mostly, predominantly, in these literatures and poem. Then we have the second poem, which is the Dior. So it is the complaint of the minstrel. It is the complaint of the minstrel who did service to his lord for years with complete devotion, but later on he was replaced by his rival. So he's lamenting, he's grieving. This is what this poem is about. Then we have the other poem, which is the dream of the rude. The dream of the rude. The dream of the rude. The rude means the Christ's cross. What does rude mean? Rude means the Christ cross. This one. And there is a person who having the dream about it. There is this person who witnessed the crucifixion of the Jesus, and he is narrating the account of that crucifixion. This is what your dream of the rude is about, right? These are the three of our poems that we have covered. Now comes a very important anthology of the Anglo Saxon time period. I hope you have wrote down all of them. Then comes the very important another aspect of this age, the very important anthology of the Anglo-Saxon time period, which is the Exeter book. Exeter book. What is the Exeter book? So Exeter book contains some of the poems of the Anglo-Saxon time period, right? And those are the Wanderer. So Wanderer is a poem about a person who was living his joyful life, which later on transited into the gloomy life as a result of the death of his lord, his master, who died, and then he is now living the life of pain and suffering after his death. So this is what this Wanderer tale or a poem is about. It is an elegy, obviously, as a person has died here, so the person is grieving, right? He is going through a very harsh moment in his life. The another one is the Seafarer. The Seafarer. So the Seafarer is a monologue poem, which is told by the old sailor. He talks about the hardships of life at sea, and at the same time he discussed the adventurous aspects of life at the sea, right? So this is what the Seafarer is about. Then we have a Widsith, another poem, the Traveler's Song. The Traveler's Song. This is the another poem that you have to keep in mind. So these are the poems, these are the work of literature that you have to cover from exam perspective, you have to keep in mind. So let me give you the overview what we have covered during this whole lecture. We started with the 55 BC when the Romans invaded the original inhabitants of the England. Then 407 they had to withdraw from the England and left for their own country in order to protect it, defend it from the Visigoths, a Germanic tribe. Then your Anglo-Saxon Jutes came in order to protect the original inhabitants, which are your Celtics, from Pictish and Scots, but ended up in driving out the original inhabitants from their land to the Wales and the Scotland and to the mountain side, and established the 5 kingdoms in England, which are Northumbria, Mercia, East Anglia, Kentish and West Saxon. King of West Saxon was the King Alfred. That is the reason that West Saxon dialect was the supreme than the other. What are the other dialects? Northumbria, Mercian, Kentish and the West Saxon is the supreme one because of the King Alfred was the king whose language it was, right? And after this comes the other aspects, when towards the very end of the age, that in your 876 your Danes law came, that your Danish people start attacking and they start ruling the England. And around 1013 almost all England except West Saxon land was under their control. And the Harold, your Harold Godwinson, the last king who was defeated by the William the Conqueror, the king of Normandy, he was a Danish king, but also given the title of the Anglo Saxon king. As with this fight, your Anglo Saxon age come to the end. So that was a history, and then we discussed these work of literature. So I hope you found this video helpful, and it is helpful. So make sure you share the video with more and more people. And in second video, I will see you soon, where we will be covering the your Norman period or your Middle English period. So thanks for watching. And to get access to the mentorship and the exam oriented study material, you can contact us on the given number. Very soon I'll be back with another relevant video. Till then, this is Bhupesh signing off.